It's Wednesday, October the 27th. Lake level's a little under 913. It's like 912 and 3/4. They've been generating quite a bit of water. Lake level's actually been coming down, pretty consistent the last 2-3 weeks. We haven't had a lick of rain. Looks like we're supposed to get some. But the water temperature's climbed up a bunch. It's 86 and a half, 87 degrees on the main lake first thing in the morning. A lot of different things going on. Probably one of the more consistent things that's going on and has been is the drop shot bite over deep trees, anywhere from 30 to 50 foot deep on a little 4-inch worm. What's funny is that bite seems to be the best after about 8 o'clock. It seems like once that sun gets up good and high, that drop shot bite gets a little better. The other thing that's going on is some things that I've been talking about that was going to happen, and it started last week, and that's a shallow bite. Usually the end of October, the end of August, the 1st of September, there's usually a lot of fish that start to move up shallow. And even with the water temperature getting the warmest that it's been all year, it's happening. There's a pretty decent shallow bite. There's a good topwater bite. Now the topwater bite, there's been fish schooling throughout the day, and I'm finding that the topwater bite is actually a little bit better, kind of like the drop shot bite, once that sun gets up high. Now, first thing in the morning, you can go back, into the creeks and fish over some submerged timber. And there's some schooling fish first thing in the morning. You can pull some out of some treetops. What I've been doing good on back there with is like a Zara spook will work good. And I've been throwing a vixen, which they stopped making these several years ago. Then there was some knockoffs, but Reaction Renovation introduced them back in, and I picked these up at Sportsman Factory Outlet. It's the original one. It's got a little bit different sound than a spook. I'll still throw a spook some, but there seems to be some days this thing makes like a little chirp. There's days that they like the vixen a little bit better than the spook. Most of the topwater baits I'm throwing are pretty good sized topwater baits. Another one I'm throwing is a prop bait, kind of similar to a devil's horse, but it's got a prop on each end, and I'm working this over the submerged timber. And once that sun gets up, I've been going quite a ways back into creeks, and believe it or not, but without a cloud in the sky, there's been a pretty consistent topwater bite throughout the day. Seems like if you just commit yourself to staying shallow and cover a lot of water. And I'm looking for them 45-degree banks that got a lot of chunk rock on them with some submerged cedars and hardwoods. Some of the fish are coming out there, 15, 18 foot deep out of them trees. Some of them are between the trees and the bank. The key to the right pocket seems to be them little tiny bait fish. If you see them every once in a while, hitting the surface, or when you're working your bait, if you're spooking the bait fish up, you're usually in the right area. You might go, one pocket will have them, the next one won't. You just got to kind of move around quite a little bit, and it seems like I'm getting most of my bites where I'm seeing, the little bait fish. And I've had some of them fish, right in the middle of the day. Yeah, I've seen, they're like wolf packs of them. There'll be 5, 6 largemouth in a group, 3 to 4 pounders. Sometimes it can be really frustrating because you can run a topwater over them while they're busting shad. And it seems like they're really fussy on what they want to eat sometimes. So, I've got 3 or 4 different topwaters on. I'm kind of mixing up, throwing different things. One thing that's been working for me, when I can't get them to bite the topwater, I've been taking a Kitech, a 3.8 Kitech swim bait, just like what we use on an Alabama rig. And I've got it on a 3/8 ounce ball-headed jig head. And what I'm doing is I'm casting this out to the areas where I'm topwater fishing, letting it go down about 5 to 8 feet, slow rolling it back, just like you would an Alabama rig or a spinnerbait. And a lot of times these fish will bump this. I've had several of them steal the tails off it, but they'll hit it 2 or 3 times before they actually take it in. What you got to do is a lot like fishing an A-rig. You just got to keep reeling until you feel the fish load up on it. But a lot of these fish have been some pretty decent largemouths back in these pockets. Another thing I talked about last week was throwing a buzzbait, and a buzzbait with like a frog on it. Take the skirt off the buzzbait, and use a frog as a trailer. Or I've been throwing just a frog straight. This is a Strike King Rage Toad. I'm throwing it on a 4-aught flipping hook with no weight. You know, the bait itself is pretty heavy, so you can throw it a long ways, and you kind of just buzz it along the top of the water. I'm throwing it the same place. This is one of the top water baits I'm throwing. You know, I've usually got, if I'm running this pattern, I'll have about 4 different rods rigged up with different baits. In case they won't bite the spook, I'll try the toad. If they won't bite it, I'll try the swing bait. Now, in a lot of them same areas, when you come across a boat dock, I've been catching some fish flipping boat docks. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's a big dock or a little dock. The key seems to be for me is the depth that I'm fishing. I'm not fishing any deeper than 20 feet. I'm fishing from the walkways out to the stalls where they're about 20 foot deep, trying to stay on the shaded side of the docks, underneath the walkways, around the boats. And I'm throwing a couple different jigs. I'm throwing a 3/8 ounce pig sticker Snowden jig. Green pumpkin orange, it's been working good for me, and also just a straight green pumpkin. Now the trailers, depending on how the fish are biting, I'll use a couple different trailers. On this one here, I've got a Strike King Baby Rage Craw, and it seems like if I'm fishing the bait, if I'm getting my bites on the bottom, I like this one a little bit better. But if I'm getting bites suspended as it's falling down, I like the Rage Chunk a little bit better. It's got a lot more tail action. So if I'm going to be swimming the jig, or if the fish is suspended hitting it on the fall, I like the one with a little bit more tail action. And each day it'll be a little bit different. But you know, the bite's pretty light on the jig, but there again has been some pretty decent largemouths and some smallmouths. Most of the stuff I'm catching shallow is largemouths and smallmouths. Most of the fish I'm catching out deep are mainly Kentuckys. And like I say, you know, you want to keep a topwater bait, because a lot of times I'll be running down the lake and you'll see a school of fish coming up, you know, in the main channel throughout the day. And also back in these pockets, it's kind of a funny deal, because you would think that first thing in the morning, the first couple hours would be the best for the topwater, but that hadn't proved to be the case for me here the last few days. It seems like it's 9 or 10 o'clock after the sun gets up real high throughout the day. You know, you'll see a good group of fish come up, then you just got to play with different baits to see what it's going to take to catch them. So, and also, you know, something I didn't get into at all, the football jig. I'm starting to catch the smallmouth. I'm moving up on a lot of these, you know, flat main lake gravel points, setting the boat about 25 foot. The fish seem to be about 18 to 25, and they're all mixed. There's some Kentuckys, some largemouths, and some smallmouths. I'm throwing a 5/8 ounce pig sticker football jig, like a XXX skirt, which is kind of like a watermelon candy. Another one I've been throwing is a Magic Craw. Seems to work real good, which is a darker watermelon candy. And I've been using either a Zoom Speed Craw for a trailer, or a Baby Rage Craw for the trailer. And there again, and I will go to the Rage Chunk if I'm swimming the jig or popping it. Sometimes I'm dragging the jig, other times I'm letting it go down the bottom and kind of stroking it. You know, pop it 2 or 3 feet, almost like a jigging spoon, let it go back down to the bottom and pop it again. You kind of got to mix it up from day to day to see how they want it. Let the fish tell you how they want it, and then try to present it to them that way. So till next week, good luck, good fishing.